my dollars make it hurt.
Welcome back. Deep Cover here for another annual show. I think last time we recorded, well, maybe we did a couple pods since then, but I know we did the draft bracket show. That's something that we do every year. And then this 53-man roster projection. I'm not gonna call it a prediction. Projection show is something we do every year because I'm terrible at predicting stuff. You guys are better at it, but I can't even claim to use that word accurately. But yeah, something that we've done for a number of years, and this one is going to be an interesting one because it's it is. It's the first one that we've done since we've been recording where John Harbaugh hasn't been a coach. So how does that affect their roster construction? I mean, I know it's the same, general manager, but different coaching staff, it's obviously going to impact how they view the roster construction. So, we're kind of wading into uncharted territory here a little bit. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Interesting in that way. And then also interesting in that I don't know if any of the three of us actually have ours like set. I think we're going to have to talk through some stuff as we are recording this, as we are streaming this, to try to figure out, where we're at. So that's going to make it fun too. But yeah, as usual, joined by Chris and Carrie, the fellas. Carrie, man, just check in with both of y'all before we get going. How you doing?
Doing all right, man. Glad to be back with you guys. We're getting back into the swing of things. Cut down day is right around the corner. Regular season right around the corner. So, our lives are getting ready to change massively for the next few months. So, but I'm excited though, ready to get into it.
Hey, Chris, how about you, man? How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Excited to get back into the swing of football and get this real sport going. I've been watching these other sports. Let's get this real sport going.
Well, you did get to celebrate an NBA title. I mean, that ain't bad.
That is true, but I would enjoy a Ravens title even more.
Oh yeah, that would be
Yeah.
crazy. That would definitely be crazy. I think we all would enjoy that. All right, so like I said, there's probably some positions where maybe we aren't set, but we're going to talk through each position group, offense and defense, and we'll see where we come out at the end. So let's start right up top. We'll go offense first, and then we'll go defense. So we'll start right up top with quarterback, and just I'll go in order like Coach does, but how I see y'all on my screen, right? Clockwise.
You have the roster?
Oh, I do. And you know what? I'm glad that you said that because I forget. This is actually live streaming in a couple places. So yeah, it's on the Deep Cover podcast streaming live. It's on my X account at Abukari. I tried to do ours. I forgot ours is not I'm not gonna hide nothing from anybody listening. Ours is not a premium account, so you got to be a premium account to stream live. So Deep Cover X account is not premium, and so it's not streaming there. So I'm just gonna have to
we got coaching and somebody else and Chris in the comments too.
Okay,
we got a couple comments so far. So shout out to them.
So, yeah, Coach Evans, Sally, y'all already know. I ain't got to put y'all on. Don't know. Now you definitely check out everything that he's doing, and appreciate Chris and him being in the comments. So, yeah, let me share that so people can see that. Good point.
And something I learned yesterday is do not talk bad about Carson Vincent.
Okay.
Because Chris is a big Vincent fan. So you might want to cover your ears in about 15 minutes when I start speaking.
But you just said you are not to talk bad. Are you about to talk bad?
Well, no, I'm just warning you guys. I already know what I'm stepping into because I found out yesterday.
Okay.
I found out yesterday. I found out the hard way. So I just want you guys to be prepared.
Okay. I got you. Well, I don't plan on talking bad about him.
Or Teddy, she said.
Okay. Oh, I'm not gonna say no bad about Teddy. I rock with
Teddy. Good. Teddy's good in my book.
Yeah, I rock with Teddy.
Yeah.
So yeah, we ain't got no hate for Teddy over here. All right. I guess you could probably see that, and then I'm gonna have to scroll it over as we go. Right? Can you see that? Big enough?
Yep. Yeah.
Need
I
it
can
bigger?
see
Yeah.
it.
Because I can do that other view where it takes us out of there if I need to. But no, okay, we good. All right. Uh this is the sheet that I was working off of, just transparency with everybody. This ain't Chris or Carrie's pick. So if you're looking at it, you like, how come Chris ain't do that? I think it's not them. This is me. We got them here too. And maybe that would make a lot of more sense to do that. So let's start this way. All right, Carrie, since we're gonna go, like I said, clockwise, I see y'all on my screen. We'll start with you. Oh shit, that's the old one. All right, never
Oh
mind.
boy. I
Never
was
mind.
gonna
We can
say,
still use this one. We can use
I was
this
gonna
one.
say, I
You
was
saw
gonna
Cooper
say,
Rush
man.
on there.
Yeah, I saw Cooper Rush. I got scared. I said, Kerry, what the hell do
He's
you know
back.
that I don't?
He's back. He's back,
It's,
baby.
it's like when they kill Michael Myers and he's right back chasing him again.
Can't get rid of Cooper Rush. That Texans game.
Oh my
Can't
god.
kill him. Can't kill him. Okay. Yeah. So we'll just work off this one and we'll edit it, make changes, do whatever as we go. All right. So uh this okay, so you're gonna see some names, right? I'm gonna say I got Joe up here, Fignano, right? We learned how to pronounce his name. I don't think I spelled it right. I don't think I spelled it right, but I did learn how to pronounce it. But that's tentative for me. This was my sheet, like I was saying, and I still, you can see at the bottom, I still ain't got 53 yet. So I'm still like building mine as we go. So we doing this, like I said, in real time. But anyway, enough of that. Carrie, who you got at quarterback?
So, obvious is Lamar and Snoop. I put, is it Fayano?
I've been saying
Am I saying it right?
Fignano.
Fignano?
That's what I don't know if it's right.
I put him on tentatively just to kind of, he's the kind of like crutch I can fall back onto and let go, as we get further into it. For full transparency, I've been stuck at 55 for the longest. And, once we get to some other position groups, I'll probably putting too much dip on my chip kind of ideas out there for how we can save some roster spots here and there. But yeah, for now, I went with all three. Fignano, I think you look at his fit in this offense, you look at just the poise and composure that he's played with. Um, we were having a conversation in the group chat, like, around the Hall of Fame game and talking about how good Carson Bett looked. And Fignano has every mark that you saw Carson Bett hit. He's hit that and exceeded it. And we're talking about a third round pick with the Cardinals that's probably going to get some starts at the end of the year compared to an undrafted guy. And, I just look at it like he's a player that maybe at least try to keep him on the initial 53 and then maybe try to play some games after everybody's rosters are already set. But I think he's somebody that people would kind of make a priority based off of the tape he's put out there for this preseason.
That's kind of why I had him up here, but I want to hear who Chris has before I speak on it.
So mine comes with not really knowing all the rules that well.
Okay.
So I got Lamar, shockingly. Um, and I got Joe Fagnano as the number 2.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna ask if we were gonna have that conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with this in mind, where they kind of sneak Tyler back onto the 53 and then have him as that emergency third quarterback guy like they did a couple years ago with Josh Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of my thinking with it, where they eventually bring Tyler back. And when you look at the Giants situation, because you would always, say, oh, Harbaugh has had success when it comes to Tyler Huntley as a backup. Ty Monken has had success. All of those guys have backups. Monken got a little bit too many quarterback decisions on his hands right now, so he can't have another one. Giants have Jameis, so those two suspects who you would think like, oh, maybe those two guys would be interested. I don't think those two guys would because they already have their backups in place. But it would definitely be with the thought of bringing Huntley back, and because I just think, man, this rookie he's been playing his ass off, and it's not like he's just hitting people who are running wide open, because we've seen that before, in preseason games with some rookie QBs where they, like, I think Mark Sanchez's first pass was like a botch, like a broken play, and it was a long touchdown. We're seeing quick processing, quick decision making, accurate throws, throwing with anticipation, and I just think that there's some real tools there to develop, and I think in a quarterback hungry league like this, teams would see a young guy like that and say, "Oh, I could work with him."
Yeah, I mean, the way that he's performed in the preseason has been very impressive, and something that I always come back to. I'm blanking on who said it now, but it's a quote from a college coach that I always like about quarterback play. He said that quarterback play is decision making, right? That's what it is. And when you watch how Joe F, I'm gonna go with Joe F, has operated with the opportunities that he's had during the preseason, he's made a bunch of sound decisions, and I think there's a lot of stuff baked into that decision making thing. And you guys both have talked about it. You talked about his poise, makes sound decisions, makes confident decisions. Um, that's where it kind of has to start. Yeah, you got to have physical tools at this level, but you got to be a good decision maker. And I don't think that he's really demonstrated um, a lot of poor decisions. I'm not going to say every throw or every attempt has been perfect, because it hasn't. But I think overall, he's displayed sound decision making. Now, that's on the plus. On the, I wouldn't even call it a negative, a minus. On the minus side, um, that Huntley has in-season experience. Yeah, different offense, but this is a guy who has played in regular season games, can execute an offense, and has won some games, some important games, right?
Almost won a playoff game.
Back to almost a playoff game. Yeah.
Sorry.
That's sneaky.
I didn't mean to.
that might cut the other way for a lot of people. Like, you know what? Because of that, nah, he ain't it. But that aside, that play aside, that he does have that experience. So that's why, and I think when we were talking about it in our chat earlier, that's kind of why I leaned. That's really the only reason, or the main reason, that I leaned towards Snoop, was I was like, okay, this is somebody that's got that experience. Whereas, as impressively as Joe F has performed in the preseason, it is the preseason. And I know I told both of y'all, I have very low confidence in my ability to take what I see in the preseason and translate it into how that's going to look in the regular season. I used to think I could, but I just had to be real with myself and like, look, man, you don't know. You don't know what you're looking at. So I'm not even going to be like, this is going to translate right over right into it, and because I can't say that. So that's why I lean towards Snoop, is because at least he has that experience in those regular season environments versus Joe not having that opportunity yet. I mean, it's hard to knock him because he's a rookie. You can say he hadn't had the opportunity to get that experience, but that's just where he's at.
And I think that's fair. I think that's completely fair, because let's say, God forbid, Lamar goes down week 1. Who you going to trust more, Huntley or Fignano? It's a no-brainer. It's going to be Huntley.
Yeah,
it's going to be Huntley. I think very highly of Joe after what he did this preseason, but he is still an undrafted free agent. I know he did his thing in preseason, but when the real bullets are flying, it's a whole different ball game, and I think this is somebody that can, you can progress and you can build him up to, eventually be your backup. That's why I would like for them to keep him. But if they can get Huntley back and have both of those guys there, I think your backup looks good for this year, and then going forward into the future, where you can develop this guy into being a solid number 2.
Well, Kerry, let me get your thoughts on that part of it, though. So, I mean, we talked about the players, right, the on-field part, but there's also the roster moves, roster manipulation angle to this. And so, with what Chris is saying about trying to snoop back through the practice squad and then activating, up bringing him up to
Yeah,
the 53, they sort of it was different how it happened last year, but he was in Cleveland, I think, and then he got cut,
Something like
and then
that.
they signed him like the end of August. So, I mean, and going back to even the Josh Johnson thing. So, I mean, they've done stuff like this in the past. This might be a little bit different, but they've tried to manipulate. So, what do you think? Do you feel like that's a strategy that I think you should think is good?
yeah, yeah.
I like it. Actually.
I'm glad he mentioned it. It wasn't something that I thought of, but it makes a lot of sense. And it would be different if he hadn't already went this route before, but he's already been off of this team and played for different teams and see how the league works. And then, like Chris made a great point about the systems that he's been in, the coaches that he's been around, they have settled quarterback positions. So I mean, I think it's a worthwhile gamble to say, hey, we're gonna let you go, but hold tight. We're gonna bring you right back. Um, Looking at the landscape of the league, I don't know if it's anybody that's gonna go out of their way and offer Snoop a bag and a number 2 QB spot to the point that he would turn down, what the Ravens would have to offer. And I mean, you could bring them back. Hey, we say, hey man, we'll bring you back at the same number, but we just need to kind of handle some business first. I think that's a great way to save a roster spot, because as everybody's gonna see, we're gonna need it.
And we've seen them do that in the past. When they got an extensive history with Pernell McPhee doing that, with Brent Urban doing that.
Yeah,
Those little handshake deals.
yeah,
Yeah. It's definitely a move. It's definitely one of their moves that they have gone to over the years, whether it's quarterback or other positions, like you just talked about. So, I would say for now, let's just keep it tentatively where it's at right now. I know it's going to look like we're saying we got all three on. That might not be the case. It might be two. Which two? We've talked both sides of that. We'll circle back as we go through.
yeah. But we got that move in our back pocket.
We got that move in our back pocket. So
Yeah,
let's go on to running back. Right at the top. I mean, I think first two pretty easy. Derrick Henry, Justice Hill. Now, we had this conversation in our chat too, because it didn't initially hit me like it was really that much of a decision. But the more I thought about it, I was like, you probably got to have four. You know what I'm saying? You probably got to have four. I mean, maybe you can do a similar type of roster manipulation deal if you want to try to between Rasheen Ali and Adam Randall, whichever flavor you prefer. Keep one on and then try to get one through the practice squad and get them on after the fact. But let's talk through it, Kerry. What did you have and what do you think at running back?
yeah. I went with four. I just think it's unfortunate that we haven't really seen Rasheen Ali, but I think he has some goodwill and some trust, not necessarily with his coaching staff, but from the GM and people in the building. And well, actually the coaching staff too, because if you look at it, I think I said this on a previous episode, but they let go Keaton, and then they went all the way through to the end of the draft before drafting Adam Randall, and that was Bashadi's pick. Right. And if you believe them, they didn't know who he was going to pick, so they didn't know running back was going to be a selection. So they were comfortable enough with Rasheen Ali and Justice Hill that they were willing to go really late into the draft and not have selected a running back. Mm-hmm. So I think even though we haven't seen Ali, in the recent weeks, I think there is a trust level there. And, I liken it to a guy that Doyle had last year in Chicago and Kyle Monangai, where can you just be solid enough, you know, fall forward, make the right reads. I think he's capable of doing that. And so, that's a guy, and he brings the special teams value, kick return value. So, definitely want to keep him around. Adam Randall, he's shown some things on film in preseason. Definitely want to keep him around for his upside, and then Justice Hill, just that solid vet that can give you a little bit of everything. Um, and then the rest of the guys haven't really shown you a lot to make you think that you can push forward with any of them outside of maybe just the practice squad. So yeah, my choice would be to go with all four.
Okay. Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, that's where I'm at with it too. I'm going to keep all four. I think what Rasheen Ali, what he brings for the return game, because the return game is so important now in the NFL. I mean, we see guys starting, with crazy field position now, and I thought he did well, and that he's kind of has that build and the speed that you want to be that returner in today's NFL with the way the rules are set up. So, and then obviously we know, he could be if something happens to Justice Hill, I mean, we know that he can handle a couple different roles, whether it's receiving, running the ball, a little bit of pass pro. We know that he can kind of be a jack of all trades, master of none type. And, I'm not saying he's a Pro Bowl or anything like that, but that's a good third down. I mean, that's a good third running back to have in your back pocket. Obviously, Adam Randall, I think there's still some work there to be done with him as far as playing the running back position, but it's hard to not get excited about a guy who can move the way that he does at his size and catch the ball out of the backfield. So he's somebody that you definitely get excited about too. And I wanted to highlight 34 and 35 from the Ravens, because I think they're playing their asses off. Tal Tolliver is one of them, and Jonathan Ward. I think both of them are doing well in this preseason. So I would keep my eye on at least one of those guys being on the practice squad.
Yeah, Ward they just brought in, and Ward has been here before, I think.
What school did he go to?
I think so.
Because the name sounds familiar, but I just forgot what damn school he went to.
Yeah, I his name is familiar to me too. He went to Central Michigan. Does that do anything for you? Now he's up there a little bit. He's 28. So he been around a little bit, but I think he was here. I don't know if it was last year or 24, 23. I don't remember, but I think he had a stint here before. But yeah, to your point, keep an eye on Tal Tolliver and Jonathan Ward. But yeah, I think we
I know where
got
I remember it from.
Where?
He was one of the running backs at Bernard Ryman. When I was watching him, he was one of those
the tackle.
And then later on it was Lou Nichols that took over. After him.
Oh yeah, and Ryman, how people were a little split on his evaluation coming out, but he's been solid. He's developed into a solid NFL.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah. So okay, I think we've got a consensus at running back. Could go another way, but again, as we move forward, we'll see. We'll see with the numbers if we gotta adjust some things. Fullback, I assume we're all in agreement that we know Lucas Scott is on the roster, but he's not probably going to be on the 53. They probably if they keep him around, he'll be on the practice squad because different offense. I mean, I know we used to Pat Ricard being in that spot, but different offense. So probably they're probably going to use a tight end more in that role than a true fullback. We all on the same page with that, or y'all see it differently?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. So we'll move on to tight end then, which, I think we're probably going to have a consensus on this too. I got Mark Andrews, Durham Smythe, who we know they brought over from the Bears. He knows, the offense that Doyle's running. And then the rookies, Matt Hibner and Jose Cuervo, a.k.a. Josh Quavis. That's what I've got. Kerry, like I said, we'll stay in order. What you got those four or anything
Yeah.
different?
No, that's the four I got. And Chris is in the chat, saying she glad we came to work. Let me tell you who else is gonna be at work. Durham Smite, because he's the only dude they can block. That man
That's
got
for
the
damn sure.
got the most job security in America right now. He gonna be at work.
That is true because them two young guys, it's a work in progress, right?
Yeah.
The blocking is we're not not gonna say they can't get there because we've seen that in the past with other young tight ends they brought in who really weren't known as blockers. I mean, you can start right with Charlie Kohler, right, and then developed into a solid blocker. So it can happen, but we know where they're starting from. Chris, same four for you or anything
Yep,
different?
same thing. No,
Okay.
another clean sweep.
Okay. So we keep it pushing. Move on to wide receiver. See if we got any debate discussion here. So I've got 6 right now. I got Zay, I got Bateman, I got Tez Walker, Jacoby Lane. I mean, I at this point it's mandatory, right? you got to. Some people might even have him starting over Bate. Elijah Surratt, and then I got Lejante, punt returner. I think, he did a solid job with that last year. I think he's going to do it again this year and might even have, a little bit more of a role on offense too. We'll see. But those are the 6 that I have. Kerry, who you got?
Yeah, same 6.
Okay.
I think this is a good, young, talented group. I mean, I know they're unproven, but I'll live with that if I have, some ability and, seeing what Jacoby Lane has done, he's kind of pushed himself forward. Elijah Surratt, I still think has something there. Still like Ted, still think he can, contribute and, love Webster's ability as a kick returner. So yeah, I went with all 6 as well.
Okay. And Chris, before I go to you, I should mention, I think we ain't got to dive deep into it because it's still in the legal process, but the stuff with Bateman that's been reported, I mean, and it's not just reported. I mean, they're court records. So, if you haven't seen that out there, that's out there, easy to Google and find it. It doesn't sound like it's going to impact him this season, maybe, but I'm not sure. I'm not, a legal expert or anything like that, but I don't think it affects his position on the roster. But then again, you never know. You know what I'm saying? You never know. So I just want to put it out there. I don't feel like, full disclosure. It's something that took place and that happened. So you can't ignore it. Uh, and I'm not. Yeah, I'm thinking about some other thing, but I'm not gonna compare it to that. Let me just keep my mouth shut. Anyway, Chris, what do you think about wide receiver?
Yeah, it's another sweep. I have the same list too. I
Okay.
think that's going to be how the wide receiver room looks. But shout out to some of those young guys. Dayton Wade, I think is balling. Xavier Guillory,
Yeah.
he's somebody else who's playing well. So shout out to those young dudes because they're impressing a little bit.
Yeah, Wade seems to show up and make a play in each of the has in each of the preseason games. Guillory, he's flashed at times too. So yeah, that's definitely in terms of practice squad. And I think Wade was here last year. I don't know about Guillory. I know Wade was here last year, but in terms of practice squad guys that they're continuing to develop, it's always nice to have some of that. All right, offensive line, and I think we definitely gonna have some differences here because I'm either short a guy because I've got 8. I was on the fence with 9. I think I am ultimately gonna go with 9, but I want to hear what y'all think. But I've got Ronnie Stanley, John Simpson. I just went ahead and slotted Ethan Poach again at center. We'll see. Jovan Gwen has been balling, so I mean, it's I don't know if you can rule it out, but I'm just for the purposes of this, just say he's on the 53, whether starter or what we'll see. Vega, of course, Roger Rosengarten, and then I had Gwen, Bullock, and Vincent as my 3 reserves. I want to put Pounds on. Let me just say that off the top. Probably should have Pounds on, but let me hear what you think, Kerry.
So I got 9. I don't have them in like starters versus bench. I got Stanley, Rosengarten, Vincent, Ioane, Simpson, Emory Jones,
Oh, shit,
Pochich.
I knew I was forgetting somebody obvious.
So that's your 9 right there, then. Emory Jones, Pochich, Gwen, and how do you say his name? Lincoln Hahn? Lixon
Oh,
Hahn?
the tall dude.
Yeah.
Gerard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gerard. Yeah. Yeah, Gerard. Yeah.
Let's go with Gerard. So hold on. Who are your that's right, you don't have stars. So you did you have Bullet?
No, I don't
Okay,
have Bullet.
that's what we're different. That's what we're different.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's your 9. We're different with Bullock and Gerard. Uh I corrected my omission. Got him. I told y'all when my numbers were short, I was like, I'm obviously I'm forgetting like obvious people, and that's one of them right there. So appreciate that. All right, Chris, how about you? Who you got it? Offensive line.
Mine is actually updated.
Okay.
I did it.
Oh, you want me to put? Okay.
Yeah, but I don't remember what it is.
Let's put Chris on the screen. Here we go.
Yeah, so I got Ronnie, John Simpson, Pochik, Vanga, Rosengarten, Gwen, Jones, Gerard, and for Chris, I got Carson Vincent. Okay. By the hairs of his chinny chin chin. I had high hopes for him this preseason, and he's disappointed me. I thought there was going to be a more of a step, but I've been a little bit disappointed with him. But I'm not ready to pull the plug yet. I'm not ready to pull the plug. I want to see, full season with Ledford, and hopefully that could correct some of those issues that I see with his hands and some of that blocking techniques. But yeah, but Gerard, that's the one I want to highlight because
he surprised me. He definitely surprised me.
I was not expecting him to have this preseason at all, and he's played well. He's played very well. He looks like somebody who can definitely become that that swing tackle type for them. That the one that they just been looking for years and years. A true tackle, not somebody who who's can fill in here and there. A true tackle, and I've been impressed with his play.
Yeah, he out of Oregon State. We may have talked about him during that draft cycle. I can't remember, but yeah, he has caught my eye definitely in the game. Definitely in the first game. I'm not gonna lie. I ain't watched the offense yet. The second game, but definitely in the first game, he caught my eye, and I could definitely be swayed on this. That's why I wanted to hear y'all thoughts because I got a soft spot for Bullock. It's been that way for a while.
It was hard to keep him off.
Now he's battled injury for a big chunk of camp. He's gotten back. He's played in the games. I think I leaned towards having him on because you get guard center flexibility, right? But if you're going to have Gwen as your backup, if you think you can get Dawkins on the practice squad, you may think you probably can get Bullock on the practice squad, then it's somebody who you could call up and elevate, in the event that you need that. Whereas we know offensive line is at a premium in the league, but particularly at tackle. So I can understand why you would want to protect tackles, particularly one who you think has shown some good stuff on tape in the preseason. Those are hard to find. And if you got those guys sitting out there on your practice squad, somebody will come and poach them. Yep. So I think I may switch and put Gerard on there. Yeah.
Over Bullock?
Over Bullock, yeah. Because I was on the fence, and sometimes I got the homerism. I got my biases, certain guys that I've liked over the years, but we gotta think about the team. we gotta put the team first, right? Okay, I like that. And then like Pounds, I get it. Y'all probably not too worried. I'm just thinking from like a traits standpoint. Guys his size, you
He
know,
should have been drafted.
Yeah.
you
He
don't,
should have been drafted.
Yeah.
does somebody take a chance on that? Now, it's not easy because if they're going to poach him off the practice squad, they got to put him on their 53, on their
Right.
on their active roster.
Yeah.
So it's not easy, but I don't know. Can't
Yeah,
protect
I
them
like
all.
him. Yeah, man. I hope they can find a way to keep him because he's definitely somebody who I thought would have been a fifth, sixth rounder. So for him to fall through the cracks the way that he did, it was very surprising. And hopefully he's a guy that can stick around because I think they could have something to build on their hands when it comes to pounds.
And we mentioned his name, but shout out to Jovan Gwynn too, because when they go back right to
Yeah.
the beginning of the offseason and they announced his signing, I didn't know who he was.
Nope.
Went watched a little bit of his tape. Obviously he has not been a starter. He's not played a whole lot, but I didn't see this coming. Let me say that. When I've seen him in the games, I'm like, oh, this dude could hoop. He could play. So that was a pleasant surprise, and I think he's played his way onto the active roster. I really
You
do.
know who he reminds me of? This is a throwback to like the first year of deep cover, like when we were watching prospects. It's Nick Harris.
Oh
Remember him?
yeah.
Yeah.
He was with the Browns for a
Yeah.
minute out of
Yep.
Washington.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He was
yeah.
always injured, but
Mhm.
small, feisty dude.
Yeah.
Loved to
Same
scrap.
build.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's what he reminds me of. He has that temperament where he's not the biggest dude, but he got that scrappy do in him where he's just he's ready to
Yeah.
throw.
Yeah, and seems like a good fit for this offense too. You know what I mean? Just in terms of his at center, in terms of his mobility, seems like a good fit. So yeah, just wanted to put a little shine on him because I
Hey,
think a lot of people have noticed him.
real quick, so where are you guys at with that battle? Because I think it's interesting the two between him and Poachik.
Yeah, I don't. Like I said, I slotted Poachich in there. Just again, I know I tend to lean towards the experience angle. He's been a starter. He's played in the league, but if we're just going on tape, obviously, Poachich is coming back from injury, so he hasn't been able to put a whole lot out there. I don't. If you were just going on evaluating the preseason games, and of course the coaches have more than that. Of course, they got practice. They see in the meeting room. They see all other things, training room, right? They see everything, right? That's all part of their evaluation. We don't get to see all that. But if it was strictly off the preseason tape, the limited sample size that we have, I would lean Gwynn. Just based off that alone, right? Obviously, that's not how the decision will be made, but for what we have access to, and if you say, hey, just narrow it down just to what you have the ability to evaluate, that's probably where I would lean right now. Whether it happens that way, whether it should happen that way, I could be totally wrong about that, but that's where I would lean just based off of evaluating the preseason play.
Yeah, that's been my lean too. Just the movement skill, especially in a scheme like this, the movement skills just stand out so much with him. And he, like Chris said, he has that tenacity to him. Coach Evans made a good point yesterday about Poachich, and they're kind of like polar opposites in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Poachich his decline was already kind of starting in Cleveland. So you're not getting the athlete. I mean, he has experience in the zone blocking scheme. You're not getting the athlete, especially coming off of injury. You're not getting the athlete.
Right.
But he's just so rock solid in pass pro and like a dude that you can trust in pass pro.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of like the last step. Gwynn is going to have to show that he can kind of be trusted in pass pro, especially against, a big nose. Can he handle that in pass protection? Like if he can pass that test, to me, it would be him all the way. Just, what he's put on tape this preseason. Like he can really like unlock some things that, we thought was locked away when we lost Linderbaum. He can provide some of that. So that would be my lean lean too.
Is that where you at with it, Chris? Are you
It's
different?
tough. It's tough. I can see both sides of it, and I think see physically, I love what Gwen brings to the table. You know that just what Kerry was saying. You know the athletic ability, the tenacity that he has. But I think what might put Pochick over the edge for me, just by a hair, is he's seen it all.
Yeah.
You know, in
Yeah.
between the ears, he's seen it all. Rock solid, just as a pass protector. Not, obviously he's not a Pro Bowl or anything like that, but you know what you're getting with him when it comes to those big. I mean, we've seen it in these past two games where a nose tackle will try to bull him, and he's just setting that anchor down, and he's not going anywhere. We haven't been accustomed to that over the last few
Yeah.
years. So to have that kind of ability at center, I think that's something that might push him over the edge in the competition. But we'll see. I'm not going to be mad at whoever they pick. Whoever they pick,
Yeah.
I'm happy with. Like the way that this competition has gone. It's been an exciting one for me personally to watch. I know people don't give a shit about centers a lot, but it's been an exciting one to watch because you had three guys who were going at for one position, and all three of them were performing fairly well. So
Yeah.
it was good to see that. Definitely on the better end of the spectrum of what it could have been, because it could have been all three of them look like shit, and thankfully that's not what was happened. These are good problems that they have right now.
Yeah. Chris, you made a great point. Like the most exciting thing about this is they can't really make a bad decision here. If
Yeah.
Gwen wins out, it means that because Pochich is comfort level. Pochich, I feel like he's gonna give you a good CC plus season if he's in there and you can trust him in pass pro. So you either have that security or they think that Gwen can be a B, and so they go with Gwen. And I think just either way, I think you're getting rock solid play.
I agree.
Yeah, and the physical part is important. I mean, you mentioned Poaches he doesn't have the mobility that Gwen has, particularly coming off an injury, but being able to set firm on the interior of your pass protection, that if you think about the pocket as more of a dish than a cup, where it's kind of flat in the middle and then it starts to round
Yeah.
on either edge, right? You can sometimes better account for pressure off the edge. What you can't do is account for pressure right up the middle and right up in your lap as a quarterback. That's what you cannot account for. That is much more difficult to have to deal with. So there's that part of it, and then probably the most important part. And like I said, if you factor that out because of what we're limited, to be able to see. Obviously, the coaches, like I said, see a lot more. They're not going to factor this out as maybe the most important part for them is, like you mentioned, Chris, the ability, the experience, right? What Pochick has seen, the ability to call a game, right? You think about an OC or a DC calling a game. Sometimes centers got to call a game, right? When they're out there, all the line calls that they have to make, all the protection adjustments. Not that the quarterback's not involved. We know Lamar is involved in that process too, but the centers have to make a variety of different line calls as well too. And so somebody who's it's no short to Gwen, but coaches just have more experience doing that. So sometimes that can tilt the scale a little bit too. So Kerry,
Something
you
that's
make a great point too. Is you're gonna have a solid option either way.
and
Go ahead.
something that's tilting me right now is an omission on your D line.
Oh gosh. I told you there was gonna be obvious people. I already told y'all there was gonna be obvious people.
I was looking at
Calais
Yeah.
Campbell is one of those obvious people.
I was like, wait a
That should be
second.
on
I said,
there.
what?
I started doing this when I got home from work. I'm telling y'all, I wasn't locked in. I wasn't locked in the way I needed to be. So okay, that I may have to adjust some things now because I didn't. I mean, I'm at 54. See, we got problems. Okay, but yeah, so that's a great transition, right? Let's transition into defense and start with the defensive line. Obviously, Calais Campbell was going to be on this roster, despite what I had. Obviously, he's going to be on the roster. I'm not reading these in order for a reason. You probably like, wait a minute, you skip over this name. Travis Jones, I had John Jenkins, Broderick Washington. Peebles might end up being an adjustment for me now that I got somebody on here who should have been on here all along. And then Matabike. I left Matabike for last because we all know what that process has been, the story, going back to the injury last year and at one point not knowing if he was going to have to retire from ball altogether to, was he going to be able to come back? And then he came back and, okay, well, when is he going to, be back on the field and, return to play doesn't always equal return to performance, all of that. But by all accounts, they're really taking their time. They're really being patient and trying to ramp him up the right way. And by all accounts, it looks like he's going to be available. Like I said, we'll give him some grace, in terms of where he can maybe get back to being, the Matabike that we last saw when he was healthy. But Kerry, let me hear from you. Do you have 6? Do you have Calais Campbell? Let's start with that. Is Calais Campbell on your defensive line?
Yeah, I think he's very, very safe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got 6. I have Matabike, Travis Jones, Calais Campbell, John Jenkins, Aeneas Peebles, and I got Rashawn Benning.
Okay.
As my 6.
Yeah. Rashawn, I like Rashawn, man. Rashawn, he's been flashing a little bit too. All right, let's put him up there again. These things can change. I know people looking at the numbers. Oh, wait a minute, yeah, the numbers are going up. We're gonna adjust when it's time to really, get to that 53. So right now we 2 spots over. Chris, what about you?
Can you go over to mine? I think I might have the same as that you had.
Let's see. You got Matabike, Jones, Campbell, Brody, Jenkins, and Peebles. Yeah. So you had the 6. You didn't have Rashawn on there.
Yeah.
Now, Kerry, do you think Rashawn would be a candidate to get poached? Is that why you?
Yeah.
Have him?
Yeah, definitely. I think, and Chris said this, during the draft, that he's really a guy that should have been drafted like in the 5th round.
He's another one.
Mm-hmm. So, I just think to have that cost control for 4 years on a dude that talented, it's just not something I could see myself passing up in this instance. And Mentor has the experience with them coming from Michigan. They know exactly what they're getting. To me, it was just a dude you have to keep, especially with we expect Matabike to get on the field at some point. We don't know exactly when. I think previous years, previous schemes, it was more keep 5 linemen. I think you probably got to keep 6 this year because of that Matabike factor.
Yeah, I agree. I think you gotta hedge a little bit and build in, like you always say, some insurance on your insurance. So I think you definitely got to do that this year. All right, so we're gonna slide this over.
Two guys I just want to shout out, and it was difficult for me to leave them off. And I wanted to ask you guys, do the Ravens technically get 54 if they choose one of these foreign guys?
I think you do. I think that's still the rule, that if you take an international pathways player, you get an extra spot.
Okay, because CJ Okoye, he's been playing well, in my opinion.
Yeah.
David Ola Jigga Jigga,
That
what?
Nick. And I always come to see. We hadn't even talked about that, but whenever I hear his name, that's exactly what I think.
Man, I've been impressed, man, with the violence that he has with his hands and the tenacity that he plays with. I've been very impressed. So, if they could get one on the practice squad and keep one as the international player, that'd be great because I do like those two young. I think they're both Nigerian, right?
No, I don't know. I'm not sure about
Yeah.
Well, wherever the fuck
so.
they from, they nice. I like them.
that. Yeah, I think that's still the rule. I mean, somebody might fact check me on it and be like, "Nah, that's not the rule." But I think at one point that was the rule that you got an extra spot if you had one of those guys on your active roster. So I think that's still true. But yeah, that could be a way, to create a little extra spot for yourself, and not just because of that. Like you said, those guys have been making plays, so it would be earned. So all right, we'll come back. Again, we're 2 over right now, but I think we're gonna see some spot. Well, probably here inside backer. This might be a spot right now where we can save. Where we could get a number back. Because I got 4, and again, it's another draft bias kind of thing. I loved Dominic DeLuca at Penn State. The special teams value, special teams near and dear to my heart. So, of course, I'm going more with my heart than my head with that. But I think top 3: Roquan, Teddy, Trenton Simpson. Right, I think we're probably in agreement on that. Did either of you, and I'll start with you, Gary, have a 4th linebacker or the same or?
No, I got the same, and this is one of my galaxy brain ones. This is where I get a little risky. Can we sneak DeLuca or Higgins through and just start with the 3? Or is that just too risky with Buchanan just coming back? It's something to think about. I mean, we're going to see a lot of sub package for this team. So, it's not like they're like the Saints sort of lines where you're playing all this base defense and you need 3, off ball linebackers on the field 40% of the time, or, whatever the case may be. I just wonder if of all these positions that we thought could get poached, if inside linebacker may be the least vulnerable of them all. And maybe it's worth, if you feel comfortable with 2 or 3 of these guys, can you roll the dice and feel like one can get through to you? And then if they can't, are there vets out there that have some experience in this mentor McDonald kind of scheme that you can kind of call in and bring them around on the practice squad, let them get up to speed for a couple of weeks, and then maybe bring them up to the 53?
I like this on a couple of different levels. Number one, what you just said, you can knock EDC for a lot of stuff, but one thing he has shown he can do is find an off the street linebacker. He has done that for years. In the middle of the season, at the beginning of the season, in the middle of the season, end of the season, he has shown he can find an off the street backer who could come in and give you snaps. I mean, if you got to go up there to Seattle, he on the coaching staff, get Josh off the coaching staff, bring him back in here.
Chris Board got to be doing something right
now. But the other reason that I like that, and the probably more serious reason why I like that, is this name right here. Okay, this young man who was in line at the Korean barbecue bowl station the other day, according to Marlon. This guy right here, because like you said, they're going to be in sub defense the majority of the time, right? Which means either nickel or dime, right? Mostly. I mean, they might even have some funky like penny stuff in there, but either nickel or dime, probably. We know this guy can line up at dime backer. He's done it. He's done it the last couple of years. Actually, it's not even just like something he started in 2025. I don't know if the numbers increased in 2025 or 2024. With injuries, that could be a factor too. But I think they also just like in certain packages previous coordinators in this system, we'll see how Mentor wants to call it, but previous coordinators in this same system, even going back to Mike Mack, I don't think Mike Mack did it a ton. I think he spent a little bit more time at nickel and traditional safety under Mike Mack, but I bet you could go back and probably find some snaps at dimebacker too. So that gives you a little bit of a different angle, right? Where you can say, hey, I can have Roquan out there. Obviously, we know he's going to be out there. And yeah, on some packages, it can be Teddy. On some packages, it could be Trenton. But we can also put Kyle in there at dimebacker. So having that flexibility, does that maybe give you a little more confidence in saying, hey, maybe I really can go with 3 on the 53, see if I can squeeze, 1 or 2 of those other guys on the practice squad. If I can, great. Even if I can't, can I find somebody off the street? Number one, like you mentioned. Number two, I've got somebody else who, if we want to just roll with him at dimebacker in some packages, not saying you're going to put him there in every single package, but, in some calls, if you want to, roll with Kyle there, I think you have the ability to do that. So Chris, what about you inside linebacker? You got 4, 3?
I have 3, and okay. This was when I hit you guys up in the group chat. This was one of the it was based mainly on defense where I was having trouble. It was the defensive line and linebacker, because I have 3 on mine. I got Rowe, I got Trenton, and I got Teddy. It was hard for me to keep Higgins off. It was hard for me to keep DeLuca off. I wanted one of those guys on there for the special teams factor. I don't really want Teddy running on special teams right now. It's just it's not something that I really want to see him doing. But like Kerry said, maybe they could maneuver, finagle these things the way that they have in the past. And like you said, Mike, they have that proven track record of being able to identify these guys who can come off the street. And if you have to go onto the street to get a special teams linebacker, that's not a bad place to be.
No.
So especially when you talk about keeping a extra defensive lineman who you're excited about, or an edge guy who you're excited about, or a cornerback who can potentially play on the outside, play on the inside, or a developmental tackle. Those positions they kind of scream more to be a little bit scarce when it comes to picking those guys up off the street.
You know what? You sold me. Bam. There we go. I think we back to 54 now. Just like that, and I, when you have these type of discussions, I'm sure some of that goes on. I'm not saying, we on the level of any of these guys who are, coaches or executives in the NFL, but they having similar discussions. That. They are. So, hey, I'm sure that type of thing is happening too. Like, you know what? You sold me. I'm convinced. We're going to try this. Okay. Outside linebacker. I've got 5. I can see the argument for 4 here, but, this Ethan Burke cat, he's been out there working, not just in the Vikings game either. I mean, I know that's where he kind of, flashed, but if you go back in that first preseason game, you see him do some good stuff too. It was more lunch pail type stuff in that first game than like splash plays. But, I got a soft spot for those guys. But anyway, I got Trey, Mike Green, Tavius, Zion Young, and I had Ethan Burke on. Kerry, do you 5, 4, something different?
No, same 5. The 4 is obvious. Ethan Burke, I think he's what we're used to as far as the heyday of a Ravens outside backer. I think he's done too much to leave off of the 53. I think he just fits everything that they kind of stand for, defensively. I just love that he's physical, but he's also very instinctive. He has pedigree, is a dude that probably should have got drafted. And, he's just making plays when his number is called. They said today in the joint practice with the Commanders, he took out like 3 dudes on special teams on the Commanders. So it's like
that's what you want to hear.
He's showing up on every phase. I just think he's done too much to leave him off. I think he's a dude that you maneuver and do some of these things that we're doing to make sure that you have a spot for.
Yeah, I think he's earned it. I do. But Chris, you same, different?
I think I have the same.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, that's right. I always forget. All you gotta do is click over.
do I?
And then
Yeah,
scroll.
I updated mine in the spreadsheet too.
Okay, so we can click over everybody now,
Yeah.
except for maybe mine. Let's not look at mine.
Yeah,
Leaving all starters.
yeah, I
Okay.
have the same, and I echo everything you guys are saying about Ethan Burke. He's just it's almost undeniable, and that report that Kerry alluded to, I read that earlier too, and I was like, okay, they're finding a
Yeah.
way for this dude to be on the squad.
Yeah.
They're gonna find a way to keep him there.
Yep. Okay. Let me see. All right. We're at corner. I'm just gonna slide over so everybody's in the same area. So when we click, we already there. Okay. See. All right. So this is where I can already see at corner that this is where we have the difference. We got this same six: Marlon Humphrey, Nate Wiggins, Cheeto, TJ Tampa, Chandler Rivers, Keon Martin. But y'all both have Kone. I talked before you jumped on, Chris, when Kerry was on first about how I wanted to have Kone on. But I was like, let me see how the discussion plays out, and I'll see, because they've got enough guys who can play nickel, right? You've got Keon, you've got Chandler Rivers. Obviously, Marlon can bump inside. I know Kyle's not in this group, but Kyle bumps in the nickel at times. Um, but you maybe could use another corner, right? Somebody with size like Kone, 6'1", I mean, right around 190 pounds, but has the height, another longer, taller, longer type corner who can line up outside. So I was leaning that way. I just wanted to kind of look at the numbers and have the discussion. So I didn't have him on, but I can easily be convinced to have him on. But we've seen him right on both of y'all sheets. Y'all both had, but just thoughts on the cornerback group. Kerry, start with you.
Yeah, love this cornerback group. That's why I, wanted to prioritize keeping 7 of them. Kone, to me, I mean, Mike, you said it. He offers the length that some of the other guys don't have, but I just think he's been lights out in preseason. I think he's another dude like Burt who has earned it, and you just kind of got to find a way to keep him on the roster, especially he's coming into a second year and, another good quality corner that's going to be cost controlled for a few years. So I think it just makes too much sense. And I'm going to throw out a galaxy brain idea to see what you guys think. We may not even need it the way it's kind of panning out, but look at this corner group. TJ Tampa is playing the best he's played. You got Keon Martin balling out. You got Chandler Rivers looking like one of the steals of the draft.
I know where you're going.
And you got Kone balling.
I know where you're going.
Is this a situation where you can find a cornerback needy team to give you a pick for Awuzie?
I was gonna say Cheeto. That's the name.
I love Cheeto. I would love to keep him on. I'm like my roster has 7 corners. I'm totally good with that. But the way these young cats is balling, is this like a mirage, or do we think that this can travel to the point that we feel comfortable enough where you can even think about a decision like that? Because this team has a history, for years now. They love that insurance at corner, but Mickens got these guys playing, man. So it's something to think about, with roster spots getting tight.
And you know what? Even if you don't entertain a trade, you can do the vet handshake deal with him, because he's got 10 years in the league. So he doesn't have to pass through waivers. He becomes an immediate free agent. You can release him.
Yeah.
And then could just say, hey, man, we're going to do this, for roster manipulation. We're going to sign you right back. Right. Like you mentioned, they did it with Brent Urban like 2-3 years in a row. So
yeah,
I forget how many years you have to have before that happens. It might be 3, 4, 5, something. I don't know, but he got 10. So he's definitely over whatever that threshold is. So you could even do that if you wanted to. I mean, if you can get
That's
a pick,
true.
then you might definitely entertain that. But if you're just like, hey, just for roster, manipulation kind of thing, hey, we want to have you on the roster. We're just doing this to get, a guy like Kone on, and then we can bring you back. So that's maybe another card that you keep, in your pocket too, in terms of numbers if you need to, because that's happened the last couple of years, right? We've seen these quote unquote surprise veteran cuts, but it's just been a deal, right? It's been a deal because of what the rules are. You can do it that way, and you can get them right back. So, and you can get them on the practice squad because when they expanded the practice squad a couple of years ago, or how many years ago now, and they created those spots for veterans. It was all set up to kind of play these types of games. So I could see Cheeto being somebody that they maybe do that with. Because like you said, you look at the rest of the room, younger guys who've played well in preseason and done well in practices by all accounts, and you want to make sure that you're able to protect those guys. So I could see that. Pochich is on season ending IR. Can't we carry 54 anyway? Oh, you mean like Pinter? Pinter's on the IR, right?
Yeah, Pinter. I think they put him there today.
Yeah, it's a question Chris had in the chat. Can you carry 54 if you already got Pinter on season ending IR? That's a good question. I don't know. Rules.
I'm not sure.
Not some rules I know. Some rules I know. Most rules I don't. But I'd have to look that up, or somebody else in the chat might know. It's a good question though. So I mean, we definitely looking for all avenues to manipulate this thing and get people. So trust and believe. We are open to all avenues. Okay, safety. I don't know if we have. I was going to say this is probably a consensus, but I don't know. So of course, the top three: Kyle Hamilton, Malachi Starks, Jalen Hawkins. I put Keandre on because from special team standpoint, and he, there's a chance he could even see some run on defense. But from a special team standpoint, I think he's shown that he's probably one of your core special team type players. So that's who I've got. Kerry, what about you?
Yeah, I got the same four. I mean, the first three are obvious. They're going to be big on three safety looks. They're probably going to be majority of what we run. And then Keandre Jackson, man, just the energy and attitude that he brings to special teams. I think he can contribute on defense too. Just another, maybe hidden gem. It's looking like Co-Cap Jr. out there with the energy he brings to it. So yeah, that's the four I got.
What about you, Chris?
Yeah, I have the same four. You obviously, Mike, you mentioned the special teams, what he brings to the table, but I think if this dude can develop into a nice little player for them too. I see shades of that. And shout out to Garnett, because Garnett called me earlier this summer, and he was like, "Yo, this dude's gonna be legit on the field, like as far as being on the actual defense, not just special teams." And this preseason, him and Keon Martin look like two best players when they're on the field. And they just look like they're playing at a different speed, and they're seeing the game differently from these other young guys. So shout out to both of them, because they've carved out a nice little role for themselves, and hopefully they could keep climbing and find their way onto the field on the defense.
Okay, so Google says that you do get a spot for having a player already placed on season-ending IR, but it's still capped at 53. So basically, you just get to replace his spot, right? You don't get the bump up like with the international pathway players. I think you actually get a bump up. I think you get like a 54th spot. But with Pinter, you don't get that. But his spot is available now. Him going on IR opens up another spot within that 53.
Oh, okay.
So and that's kind of how I think we've accounted for it here. Like, we don't have him on here, so I think he's in that number. And of course, I don't want to just gloss over it. And then we gotta, go back and tighten up our numbers. But your specialists, Tyler Loop, Ryan Eckley, Nick Moore. Yeah, no problem, Chris. No problem. You know, do you guys have any thoughts on them at all? Because you're probably not on the long snapper. You get a rookie punter, that's something.
Hey,
It's something.
he was kicking the hell out of the ball the other day.
Yeah.
The Vikings game, yeah. And I tweeted out, I think most of his. I don't think I tweeted out the first punt, but I think I tweeted out like the other 5 or 6 bombs.
Yeah.
Bombs over Baghdad for the rest of the game. Because the first game, they were moving the ball so efficiently on offense. First, he just didn't have many opportunities. I think he only had 2 punts, but one of them was
that first one.
No bueno. No bueno. But first preseason game, right? As a rookie, punting, maybe there's a little bit of nerves, a little bit of butterflies in there. Second one was better. Wasn't great, but was certainly better than that first. I think the first one was like 30-something yards, maybe. It was not great. But then he came back in this game, and yeah, he's kicking indoors, so we know it's a climate controlled environment. But man, he was booming that thing. So it's just something to keep an eye on, because I know it's a punter. We know people ain't really focused on special teams, not really focused on kickers and punters. But when you've got young, inexperienced players, and they went through this just a couple years ago with their punter who's up there with John in New York, right? He was a rookie, and it took him until this past season where he really kind of showed out and got a bag. So there could be some ups and downs. Anytime you're dealing with young, inexperienced players at any position. But I think sometimes it gets magnified at the specialist positions because, they're the only ones on the team who can do that job. Until they bring in somebody else, that's it. And so if they're really struggling, that can really swing a game. In a lot of ways. I mean, obviously with Luke, we ain't got to talk about that. We already know. So we got those 3. All right. So we are at 55. So we gotta maneuver 2 spots here. We've got 3 quarterbacks, which I think was something that we were open to maybe adjusting, right? I think we're solid. We're all consensus with running back, consensus with wide receiver. Offensive line, I think we're consensus, but maybe there's something there. Defensive line, I think there's a discussion there. I think we're good. ILB, maybe even outside linebacker. As much as we love Ethan Burke, I mean, it's if you gotta do what you gotta do. Cheeto, we talked about Cheeto at corner. That might be the move right there. And then safety. So where do you guys think? Do you have Kerry? I'll start with you. Does your eye go somewhere right away when you're like, all right, we gotta start to get this to 53. Where does your eye go?
Yeah, I think my first one, and Chris laid it out so well, is Huntley.
Yeah,
I think that's a lever you can pull, and feel comfortable that you can kind of work him back on the roster. And then the one I threw out there is more of a trade, but you threw it out as, hey, no, we can release him for right now. Tell him, hey, don't go too far. We're gonna work some stuff out and bring him back. It's Cheeto. I think looking at it, I feel really good about everything else here. That I think that would be the way to get, or Broderick Washington. Where are you guys on him? Because I do think that I feel a little bit better about him than I did maybe last year. But then I also just look at, I mean, they got some cats with some real ability in this defensive line room now. And they're going to tap into it more because Mentor is a guy that's shown that he'll use more defensive linemen and he'll use guys to their strengths. And I just think you got guys that offer a little bit more pass rush juice and a little bit more versatility. So Broderick is one, but then at the same time, it comes back to the point about Matabike. We don't know exactly when he's going to be ready. So, how thin do you want to cut yourself at defensive line? So, I would say pulling those levers of Huntley and Cheeto would be kind of the way to get to the 53. Unless we want to do something around Broderick. I'm curious to see what you guys think about him.
Before you go, Chris, there's a question in the chat from Don about the emergency QB, and this is something we talked about, right? The three QBs. So I looked this up today, and if I understand this correctly, the distinction is game day. So on game day, you normally will have 48 spots, right? Because you gotta make, what is it, 5, 6 inactive? I forget how many you gotta make inactive.
I think it's 7. Is it 7 inactive?
Might be 7. Yeah, you probably know that better than me. That is a part of the rule I did not look up. But anyway, you got to have a certain number of inactives. What happens with the emergency QB is they got to be on the roster, right, going into the season. But on game day, you get a 49th spot basically, so they don't count against your active spots on game day. Gotcha. But they do have to be on the roster.
Thank you for clarifying that.
To be, I looked at it because I was trying to use that too. I was like, oh, we can sneak somebody. They could be the emergency. They ain't got to be on the active roster. But if I read it correctly, I think that's how that works. They get into some interesting rules in there too about like teams trying to use another player to be a quarterback, like somebody who played quarterback in college or whatever, but now they like play tight end. Can you like sneak them in as like the emergency QB? They get deep into it when you really start to read through that rule. And no, you actually cannot do that. But okay, so Chris, what do you think? We know where you were at on the quarterback situation because you had Snoop off and you had Joe on. By the way, I looked up this rule too while we were talking about it. 4 years, 4 accrued seasons is what you need to have to be considered a vested veteran and not have to pass through waivers. Snoop's got 5.
Okay.
So you could do the same thing.
Yeah.
You can do the same thing with Snoop. I think there's a difference between he's in his 5th season, but accrued season has like a specific definition. I have to go and look up what accrued means because you could be a player that had like 5 actual seasons, 5 physical seasons, but not 5 accrued seasons. You have to. It's like a certain number of games you have to be in, or something like that. Something, or be on, at least be on the roster, something like that. But I think, let me not say that. So I don't know. I have to double check with Tyler if he's got 4 accrued seasons or so. Actually, really, you can go to Over the Cap and you can just like put in the player's name, and I think it tells you their accrued seasons like right off the jump.
Well, in this exercise, he has it.
Okay, so do you want to speak on Roderick though? How do you feel about that part?
I know he gets a lot of hate, and a lot of it is from after he signed that deal, we saw his play kind of taper off a little bit. But I think this preseason he's had he's played well. Like games 1, game 2. I think there was like a highlight. Yeah, it was you, Mike. You like tweeted a highlight, a low light for him.
Yeah.
But he had good plays in that game, and he had good plays in this past game too. So I don't think he's playing as bad as people want to paint it. You know how people just take these broad strokes like always sucks. Bateman sucks.
Yeah.
Not to say that Broderick Washington is a world beater or anything like that, but I think he's played fairly well and somebody who can definitely contribute in your rotation, your defensive line rotation.
Okay. And it works out because I look, Snoop 6 accrued seasons. So we're good.
Damn.
Okay.
I say at 5 because on the Ravens site, I think they had him at 5 unless I'm misreading it. I might be misreading it. But yeah, according to OTC, he's got yeah. I was looking at the wrong column. They've got him for 7 years of experience. So yeah, I was looking at his number. He's got plenty of accrued season. So him and Cheeto, you could work that move with both of them if you wanted to. So here, let's do this. So we're gonna say, Tyler, Bam, you up out of there, player. But we got a little we got a little handshake deal. You oh shit, I shouldn't have copied. You're gonna be right back. Okay. So that puts us at 54. So we got the Cheeto card we could play. Trying to think. Of course, we could. I think we're good everywhere else, right? Is there anybody else that we were like, we kind of had them on, but that's maybe a little bit more of a luxury, or did we feel like no, all these other moves are moves we definitely want, and then because I think people would be surprised at the Cheeto move, but when you hear the rationale behind it, you're like, oh, okay, it's like, hey, you gonna see his name being released one day, and the next day he gonna be signed.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think looking at it, I think that's the move. I think we're kind of solidified in a lot step everywhere else.
I would like to throw one in there.
Okay.
Personally, from what I've seen, I feel like David Olajiga has outplayed Rayshon Benny this preseason.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a lever where we can carry 54 because of that international player rule. So you don't lose a defensive lineman. You'll still have him on the schedule. You'll have 54, but he'll be that international guy.
Yeah.
Okay. I gotta check that rule too. I want to make sure we complying with all rules during this exercise, and we're not just talking out our ass and making stuff up that can't actually happen. Here we go. Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. Oh shoot.
Yeah, because no need to expose them to any waivers if we don't have to.
Hold on. Let's see. Teams do not get an extra 54 spot on their active roster for international player, pathway player. Okay, I was wrong about that. So hold on.
Damn.
I think what happens is, let's see, you get an extra off-season roster spot. So instead of being limited to 90, you get 91 during the offseason.
Give a shit about some 91.
hey, this is what the rules say. Okay, so by the end of the preseason, roster is still got to be cut down to 53. Now you get you got that preseason exemption, then you also get a practice squad exemption. If the player clears waivers, the team can sign them to an extra 17th spot. So normally you got 16 P squad. If he gets through waivers, you get a 17th spot.
We learned today.
Yeah, all of us. But you are kind of rolling the dice a little bit, because if they've been balling like the way these guys have been balling, and you try to get them through, and they don't get through, then they can end up on one of these other squads. And the thing about this system now is there's enough other teams running it that they all kind of like the same players. And so if you say, we're going to try to get this type of guy on defense in particular through to the practice squad, you got Mike Mack, right, out there. I would imagine the dude who took over for Mentor with the Chargers.
Oh, Leary. Yeah,
he's
going to be the same. Yeah.
But you imagine, put his own spin on it, but he's probably going to run the same base system.
Yeah.
Harbaugh, he already been stealing players. So, and there's probably some others. Those are just the first ones that come to my mind. So that's the other thing you got to think about. Now, teams around the league are going to be looking for good players regardless, especially at some of these premium positions. But that the guys that run your system or similar system probably are going to have similar feelings about some of your defensive players too, especially with some of these guys who were here when Harbaugh was here. Well, I don't think Olajiga was that, but Okoye was here last year. So something to keep in mind. Okay, so what do we want to do? Now that we know we don't actually get that 54 spot, I was wrong about that. Do we want to do the Cheeto move or to get us to 53 because we have 54?
Yeah, I would say so. Unless Chris sees anything else.
You can still put Olajiga on. You could do both things. You could swap Olajiga for Benny, and then you could do the handshake deal with Cheeto. That way you get Olajiga on, and then you still get to 53 with the Cheeto move. So you can still do both.
I like that.
Yeah,
I'm cool
you
with
can
that.
do both. And then,
I'll be good with that.
Sounds like we got it.
All right. So Cheeto, handshake. You'll be back. You'll be back. That's something that I think we paid attention to it. I think in previous years, because we've talked about the Brent Urbans and some of the other deals. But sometimes I don't know that we always like use it during this exercise. We're just like aware of it, but we don't always use it. But I like the fact that we're using it. How in the world do you spell Olajiga? Don't get me to lying. Hold on.
I think it's the way it sounds. I think it's Jiga.
It's got Ola. You right.
Like I want to say, don't get me to guessing. It's gonna come out like a slur.
We're gonna say David Olajiga, aka that. No, we're not gonna do that. We're not gonna do that. We're gonna keep that in the locker room. We're gonna keep that in the locker room. Keep that in the locker room. Don't worry, coach. We're not gonna do that. This is a family program. We're not gonna do that. All right, so I think we're good. Yeah. I think that gets us to 53. And so for anybody who's just joining, we'll scroll through a little bit. I'm not gonna read all the names, but we'll scroll through a little bit. And if you look at certain positions and you say, hey, where's Snoop? Hey, we got a little handshake deal. Snoop, vested veteran, right? We can release him. He don't have to go through waivers. We can get him right back the next day. And get him on the practice squad, right? Same thing with Cheeto. If we scroll all the way over the corner, Cheeto, Uzier, we can do the same type of thing. So I feel pretty good about this overall. I feel like, we got all of the core guys, of course, all the names that everybody knows, but then I think some of the younger guys who have, really impressed during this offseason, they still got one more game left. And some of these names are going to see a lot of run in that game. So, they still got another opportunity. But I'll get your closing thoughts. I'll start with you, Kerry. What do you think about the roster, and how do you feel about what we've done here?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good, deep, talented roster. I say I think we were able to get to 53 with a little less stress than what I thought we were going to be able to do coming in. Obviously there's going to be some guys that have been left off that you don't want to see left off, but it's nobody where I'm just like, oh man, I can't believe we did that. I feel like we put together a pretty balanced roster and got creative in some spots. And, I think, it's something that, we could see come to fruition, come pretty close to it, based off of some of these names I'm looking at.
And before I get your closing thoughts, Chris, I see Chris in the chat. I don't feel great about having to do some of these types of moves either. But like you said, you understand it. It's the business part of it. But it's good that you bring that up though, because I think this don't work like 100% of the time. Maybe like 99.5%. But I think there's been at least once where they tried to do one of these handshake deals with a vet and they signed somewhere else, which is their right to, right? If they become an immediate free agent, unrestricted free agent, they don't have to sign back with you. Yeah, you can have a verbal kind of, wink, wink, nod, nod, we're going to bring you back. But if they get another offer and they're like, yeah, I know I said I was coming back. You know what? I'm going over there. I think this happened at least once. I mean, so it's no guarantee that is going to happen because that's what you open up, when you take this approach. I think when you do this with guys who you feel like you have that type of relationship with, so you don't really see that as a risk, but it could happen, depending. So hopefully it doesn't, but it's good that Chris brought that up, because it's not a slam dunk.
Yeah.
It's likely, right? It's higher probability, but it ain't 100%. Okay, now Chris, you what do you think about the roster and what we've done here.
Yeah, I like where the roster is. I think there's a lot of depth, a lot of exciting young players at the end of the roster, um, which is kind of refreshing to see. You know, where you have cornerbacks that you're excited about, you have interior defensive linemen you're excited about, you have edge players that you're excited about, you have offensive tackles that you're excited about. Just these aren't guys who are going to be starters this year, maybe not even next year, but these are guys who, where in the past we haven't seen this level of excitement or promise from the younger players that they've brought in, and I think right now we're kind of seeing that kind of a youth movement as far as the bottom of the roster is concerned, where in the past you saw those kind of being vet roles,
Mm-hmm.
and now you can kind of build that foundation, and you have this new culture in there and a new coach who can mold these players into who he wants them to be. And you know, you have a Dwayne Ledford who he can work with a Carson Vincent or Gerard Lichten, whatever the fuck his name is. So you know, I think it's exciting for the Ravens roster as a whole. You know, obviously there are holes in, you know, in various places where, oh, why didn't they, you know, get a better left guard, or why didn't they bring another wide receiver in, why didn't they bring another tight end, why did they sign Likely? You know, you can have those questions, but I'm just talking about the roster as a whole. I like where it's at. It's not perfect, but I like it.
Yeah, I do too. I do too. I think it's very solid. Obviously, your core guys, your top guys, still amongst the best in the league at their positions. And then, like you said, I think which is important to do. You're getting younger on the back ends of the depth charts, the back ends of the roster because it's important. I mean, yeah, you want to have that balance with vets. I think to the point you just made, Chris, we probably skewed a little heavier on the vet side in previous years than the young player side at times. But I like this. I like this mix. So I'm excited too. And then we get this last preseason game. Hopefully everybody comes out healthy. That's the biggest thing for me going into that last preseason game.
We got tomorrow in the last preseason game.
Yeah. During practice, obviously, unfortunately, they've already had that injury with Danny Pinter. So, you definitely don't want to see anybody else go down in practice or in that last preseason game. So, praying for that for sure. And then before you know it, the real deal will be here, and it'll be time to rock and roll. So, hey, we appreciate everybody who tapped into this. I thought this would be, we talked about it beforehand, that this would be a fun way to do it. Cause I think when we've done it in the past, we kind of came to it with our versions already finalized. And so I thought it was cool that we came through and we came to this with not really knowing, we didn't really have everything set. And so we were kind of like, man, we're going to have to talk through some of these situations and decisions. And, I think it made for an interesting show. So appreciate everybody for that. For sure. Was Coach asking? You see his question? Y'all see it?
Tomorrow, right? I don't know. What do you mean, Coach?
This gonna be out or what?
Okay.
Maybe is
Oh,
it that?
okay.
It's for
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. No, we appreciate everybody again. Like I said, thank all y'all. Appreciate everybody in the chat. Everybody else for tapping in.
Yes, sir.
And hey, y'all stay tuned. We'll be back at you. I'm not even gonna say when. I'm not even gonna say we will be back at you when we are back at you. So appreciate everybody. Y'all be good. We're gonna get up out of here.
Peace.
Peace.